For centuries, we've been told that science and spirituality are at war. We're taught that a miracle is a violation of natural law, a magic trick that breaks the rules of the universe. But what if that definition is entirely wrong? What if a miracle is not a suspension of law, but the application of a higher, deeper physics that we are only just beginning to understand? Welcome to Celestial Physics. What happens to your personal energy when you die? The common materialistic answer is that death is a full stop. That when the heart stops, whatever makes you simply blinks out, like unplugging a television. Here's where we have to slow down and be precise, because this is the exact spot where a lot of pop science content overreaches, and we're not going to do that. The first law of thermodynamics is specifically about physical energy inside a defined system: heat, motion, chemical bonds. It does not by itself say anything about consciousness, memory, or personal identity. Physics has never measured intelligence as a form of energy. So if we want to claim that your identity, is conserved the way heat is conserved, that's not a conclusion physics hands us for free. It's a theological claim we're about to make, and we're telling you that up front. Here's the claim. If there's a governing constant behind natural law itself, what this series calls the I am constant, and if that constant operates through a real physical field that fills space, the light of Christ, then the boundary of the closed system in the first law is not just your body. It's your body plus the field, and conservation laws that look broken at the small boundary can hold perfectly once you draw the boundary correctly around the whole system. That's the thesis. Now let's build it piece by piece and see where it holds up and where it's still just an idea. To talk about this clearly, it helps to separate three things that get lumped together when people describe a soul. First, intelligence. In the celestial physics framework, that's the term for raw, uncreated identity. The light of truth the scriptures describe is never made and never destroyed. This is a doctrinal claim, not a scientific one. There's no instrument that detects intelligence the way a thermometer detects heat. We're naming it clearly so we don't accidentally borrow scientific sounding authority it has not earned. Second, spirit. Scripture describes it plainly. There is no such thing as immaterial matter. All spirit is matter, but it is more fine or pure and can only be discerned by pure eyes. If we take that claim seriously, a spirit is not a ghost story. It's proposed to be a form of matter operating at a density or frequency our current instruments are not built to register. That's the honest state of the claim. Unfalsifiable with today's tools, but internally consistent with the text. Third, the body. Physical, coarse matter, the dust of the earth. Left alone, matter has no built-in drive to organize itself into a nervous system. It only does that because it's being held to a template. This is where real biology backs us up without needing any framework claims at all. Your cells are, in fact, constantly rebuilt from raw material according to instructions. That instruction set is DNA, a completely natural, well-understood mechanism. The framework's addition is the claim that DNA itself is downstream of something else doing the organizing. That's the part that is not testable yet. So what does death physically do under this model? Let's be exact about what's the mechanism and what's the framework here. The body's decline is ordinary biology and ordinary physics. Cells lose the electrochemical gradient that keeps them functioning. a real measurable voltage across every cell membrane, maintained by a real protein pump, the sodium-potassium pump. When that gradient collapses, tissues break down and thermodynamics takes over. Heat radiates out, chemical bonds break, matter returns to simpler compounds. None of that requires a miracle. It's the second law of thermodynamics working exactly as expected. Nothing here is in dispute. What the framework adds is this: the organizing template, the spirit, is not destroyed along with the hardware. It decouples. It's proposed to remain locally present in the same physical space, but operating outside the frequency range our current bodies and instruments can detect. The same logic the text uses for the light of Christ filling the immensity of space without our eyes ever registering it directly. So the honest claim is not physics proves your soul survives. It's narrower than that. Nothing in physics forbids an organizing template from persisting outside the body's sensory range, and the framework proposes that it does, on doctrinal grounds, not on a quantum mechanics origin. This is where the priesthood enters the model specifically. In this framework, priesthood is not a power source, it's an authorization. It does not generate the energy needed to reorganize scattered matter back into a body. It directs where the light of Christ field's existing energy goes. The same way a valve does not create water pressure, it routes it. That distinction matters for the conservation law argument from before. Standard physics only draws its boundary around what's measurable. The body, the surrounding air, the heat that radiates off as tissue breaks down. Within that narrow boundary, a body reassembling itself would be a real violation. Order and energy appearing from nowhere. What this framework does is redraw that boundary wider to include the light of Christ's field the text describes as already filling the immensity of space all the time, not switched on for the occasion. If this is correct, the field was never outside the system. It just was not in the accounting. So the extra energy for reorganization is not new. It's drawn from something that was already there. And here's the honest limit of that move. Widening the boundary only works if the field is real and if it actually carries the energy in order the framework claims it does. Neither of those is something we can currently measure. So this argument shows the model does not contradict itself. Not that it's true. That's a meaningful, smaller claim than physics proves this, and it's the one we're actually entitled to make. Here's the thing this channel exists to do, not just acknowledge the gap, but attempt to actually find the unknown using science that already exists. There's a real documented precedent for a field, not just chemistry, telling matter what shape to become. It's called bioelectric pattern memory, and it's active research, not speculation. Cut a flatworm in half, and the surviving piece does not just regrow generic tissue, it regrows the correct head or tail. Researchers like developmental biologist Michael Levin have shown this is directed by a shared voltage pattern held across the tissue, separate from the DNA instructions inside any single cell. Change that electrical pattern experimentally, and you can redirect where an organism grows an eye or how many heads it forms using the exact same genome. So a field organizing matter toward a target structure is not invented physics. It's demonstrated at small scale in a lab today. Here's where honesty has to hold the line though. What's proven is a field redirecting living adjacent tissue that's already partly organized. What the framework needs is a field reorganizing scattered matter from nothing adjacent after the original structure is gone. That's a real jump in scale and kind, and nobody, including this channel, has closed that gap. But it's an educated guess built on a working precedent, not a guess piled from nowhere. That's the difference we're trying to hold on to in this series, naming the best available analogy and naming exactly where it stops being enough. What Scripture claims about the result is specific at least. The spirit and the body shall be reunited again in its perfect form. Both limb and joint shall be restored to its proper frame, even as we now are at this time. The claim about the outcome is precise. Our best current guess at the mechanism has a real starting point in biology. The leap from that starting point to full reassembly is the pot still open. So where does that leave us? Physics gives us a rock-solid law that energy in a closed system cannot vanish. It does not, on its own, tell us anything about where a person's identity goes. What this episode has tried to do is show you exactly where that line is. What's established physics? What's a framework claim resting on Scripture? And what's still an open problem no one, including this channel, has solved. That's not a weaker way to talk about a miracle. It's the only honest way. If you want more on the fine matter and light of Christ groundwork this episode builds on, Volume 1 is out now, linked below. The full framework breakdown, where this conservation law argument gets its complete treatment, along with how intelligence can be actually measured, is still ahead, coming with the New Testament series when we reach the book of Revelation. We'll see you in the next classroom of celestial physics. Keep looking up, and welcome to the classroom of the possible.